Tampa Bay is like no place else.
Wait, you can't recycle the bag? You have to throw it away.
Proper recycling keeps it that way for everyone. Bags tangle in machinery and can bring sorting efforts to a halt.
No bags.
Trash the bags and keep our recycling program moving forward.
No, Mom, look, no plastic bags.
Do your part to keep our recycling bag-free. Trash the tanglers or return them to participating retailers. For more information, visit tampabayrecycles.org.
Good evening, everyone. I'm now calling this meeting to order. I wasn't saying it. Good evening, everyone. I'm now calling this meeting to order. Please be advised that Commissioner Hagan will be attending virtually, and at this time, I'd like to request the clerk take a roll call.
Hagan.
Any having technical?
Bowles.
Present.
Cepeda.
Present.
Cohen.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Wostel.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Welcome to the Board of County Commissioners Comprehensive Plan Amendment Public Hearing. The Board of County Commissioners will consider the transmittal and adoption of text and map amendments to the comprehensive plan this evening. The board will also consider the adoption of a small-scale future land use amendment with a related rezoning. For the items being considered for transmittal to the state and other agencies for review, the board will hold a second public hearing to consider the adoption of the amendments at a future date. I will now request that Planning Commission staff introduce the first item of this evening's agenda.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Our first item is item A1, and that will be presented by Ms. Alexis Myers. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Alexis Myers, Planning Commission staff. I'm here to present HC CPA 2442, located at 2212 South 78th Street. This is a privately initiated map amendment that is small in scale and approximately 2.29 acres. The applicant is requesting to change the future land use category from residential 9 to residential 16. This is the general location map. The site is in the urban service area and within the limits of the Greater Palm River Community Plan. Here is the aerial of the site. The site is located east of South 78th Street and north of South 24th Street. Vacant land and light commercial uses are currently on the site. Light commercial uses are directly south as well. Single-family uses extend to the north, east, and west, and public, quasi-public institution uses are to the west across South 78th Street. Here we have some pictures of the site. This is looking south from South 78th Street to the subject site. This is looking at the subject site from South 78th Street. Here's looking northwest from South 78th Street. The subject site is out of frame to the right. And here's looking southwest from South 78th Street. The subject site is out of frame to the left. And then this is looking east of the subject site. And this is looking at the light commercial use that is currently on the subject site. The car wash is to the right and the air vacuum pumps are to the left. Currently, the future land use of the site is residential 9. The residential 9 category allows for the consideration of up to 9 dwelling units per gross acre, or a maximum floor area ratio of 0.50. All non-residential development which exceeds 0.35 FAR must be for office or residential support uses, not retail. This category allows for the consideration of residential, urban scale, neighborhood commercial, office uses, multi-purpose projects, and mixed-use development. Other future land use categories shown in this map include office commercial 20, residential 6, and residential 20. Again, the applicant is requesting a change of designation to residential 16, which allows for the consideration of up to 16 dwelling units per gross acre, or 0.50 FAR. All non-residential developments which exceeds 0.35 FAR must be for office or residential support uses, not retail. Typical uses under this category include residential, urban scale neighborhood commercial, office uses, multi-purpose projects, and mixed-use developments. Non-residential uses shall meet established locational criteria for a specific land use. Next are the impacts. As far as existing conditions, currently under Res 9, the site can consider 20 dwelling units, or either 34,913 square feet or 49,876 square feet of non-residential uses. Under the proposed future land use designation of Res 16, the site could consider 167 dwelling units, or the same amount of square footage of non-residential uses. The proposed amendment will result in the increase of higher residential density. This proposal has been reviewed by the accommodating agencies, which you can find in your packets under the agency review section. Community and infrastructure planning have concerns with the proposed request given past experience with community members, and that the site is identified in the Greater Palm River Community Plan as a mixed-use corridor. Next is the consistency review. The proposed request is consistent with the following objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan. According to Future Land Use Element Policy 1.4, compatibility does not mean the same as, rather, it refers to the sensitivity of development proposals and maintaining the character of existing development. An increase to Res 16 on the subject site will be similar to the future land use categories in the manner that is compatible with the surrounding areas with the future land use designation of residential 9. The proposed increase is consistent with Objective 7 and Policy 8.1 as they relate to the future land use map and range of allowable uses of each future land use category. The proposal is also consistent with Objective 16 and its accompanying policies 16.2, 16.3, and 16.10, which require new development to be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. Goal 12 and Objective 12-1 of the community design component of the future land use element require new development to recognize the existing community and be designed to relate and be compatible with the predominant character of the surrounding area. The Res 16 future land use category would be accordant with the surrounding neighborhood as it is made up of mostly single-family uses. Goal 5A of the Greater Primavera Community Plan seeks to promote and provide for opportunities for well-designed public uses, residential development, business growths, and jobs. Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And this concludes my presentation for AC CPA 2442.
Thank you. Is the applicant here?
Sam. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Todd Pressman, 200 2nd Avenue South, number 451 in St. Petersburg. This is HCCPA 2442. Planning Commission staff, as you heard, has found it consistent. Planning Commission board also voted that the subject site was consistent for the land use amendment. We are in the Greater Palm River Claremelle area. 2 separate parcels, 2.24 acres, R9 seeking R16. The primary direction for the project is multifamily residential, which will come back to you as a zoning if this is approved this evening. It's obviously a good place for good multifamily high and dry. To the north is a C-store. Part of the site is an ex-car wash, which will not be one of the future uses. Church across the street, church to the south. Business office zoning to the north. There's a good buffer to the rear. Current zoning area in the area reflects the BPO, commercial neighborhood, and current entitlements under zoning would be a car wash with 4 bays and CN uses, ancillary, and BPO. This is the existing PD plan, which will be changed in the future. You've seen the pictures of the site. Site abuts residential. I'm sure they'll be very happy to see the vacuums and car wash go. I won't read through the planning staff comments. You've heard that they found it compatible, similar to surrounding area. We have noticed about 115 persons in this regard in one HOA, and we had one community meeting. I don't recall anyone at the public hearing. I'm not aware of any opposition. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. I don't have anyone listed to speak. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this item? Can you do that?
I didn't hear about that meeting, 115 people. I opposed it, so you got one.
115 noticed.
Most of them don't even speak English. I'm here. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Dennis Chaney. Do I have to give my address? 2026 Clary Circle. If you got that map back up there, I live directly across to the north of the, wherever you're recommending. And I just measured it today. It's like 208 feet from this property. So what are you going to be building there? Apartment complexes or houses? What do you want to build? Is that the guy who's doing it? Apartment complexes? Anybody? Is it already sold, that land? Does anybody So, if it's residential, I say I recommend keeping it light commercial. Residential, you think I'm going to wake up to apartment construction, banging, clanging? I'll be able to hear that from my house 200 feet from the property, as well as all the other houses. If you don't notice, on that north line, there's about 10 or 12, them also. I say no to apartment complexes or property houses. I say light commercial is more what should be there, a car wash, a laundromat, not housing. You already have housing on Causeway. You got the Coca-Cola company, which is, I like that, it's great, but they just put up 2 new lights. The Windermere is right on Causeway. I mentioned this is all causing traffic. By the way, I've lived on this, it's my family residence. I've lived on this property, my family.
Mr. Hagan, can you hear me?
I now own it from my father since 1964. So I know all about what goes on in the whole community.
Phone
I've
number
been there a
ending in
long time.
32. Can you hear me?
So you got apartments, you got how much time I got? 5 minutes?
43 seconds.
Well, on 78th Street, you got the Coca-Cola new, it's probably going to have 2,000 employees coming in and out, traffic. You got the Windermere right across, it's been there 10 or 15 years, that's got probably at least 500 units. You got the,
Oh, his audio is not showing.
this all is like, it all causes the traffic congestion you're going to have. You add more, that's going to be more traffic congestion right around the corner from where I live. Windermere, the Meridian is assisted living, which is cool. I might end up there, who knows? But that's all on the Causeway Boulevard, the Cortland Santos,
Thank you for your comments, sir.
which was just built. I'm
Appreciate it.
saying no to the proposal.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
And the building.
Would the applicant like time at a rebuttal?
And I vote no, and I recommend you have a citizen vote, so the citizens can vote too. You know, citizen vote.
Appreciate the comments from the gentleman. As I've indicated, we've sent over 117 notices. There's residential predominantly throughout the area. This would, at least in my opinion, would certainly be a downzoning, at least of use. It's located on a major arterial, so of course there's going to be a traffic count. But with that, we appreciate your consideration. Again, appreciate the comments from the gentleman. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Move for approval.
Yeah, and I'll second, and I'll make a comment if she's done.
Commissioner Myers, you recognize? Just, that was the motion? Yes. Okay. Second? Given no discussion, please vote on the, oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Myers and I have talked to the leaders in this community quite a bit, and that they want it moved down towards that line, which is where you see all of the more dense growth going on that causeway. That's what they prefer to get. It's kind of oddballed where this commercial is in the residential, and this is a downgrading, in my opinion, like the applicant said, of a less intensive use. So
here we are.
that is why I'm
Thank you.
supporting it today. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Given no other discussion, please vote on the ordinance for adoption CPA 2442 by Commissioner Myers and seconded by Commissioner Whistle.
Yes.
Commissioner Hagan?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. On to the next item.
Yes, thank you. Our next item, B1, will be presented by Ms. Alexis Myers. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Alexis Myers again, Planning Commission staff, here to present HCCPA 2440, located at 7812 Causeway Boulevard. This is a privately initiated map amendment that is small in scale and approximately 8.39 acres. The applicant is requesting to change the future land use designation from residential 9 to office commercial 20. This is the general location map. The site is in the urban service area within the limits of the Greater Palm River Community Plan and north of Delaney Creek. Here is the aerial of the site. It is north of Causeway Boulevard and east of South 78th Street. Heavy industrial uses are currently on the site. Light industrial uses are directly east. Light commercial uses are to the west and south across Causeway Boulevard. And as I mentioned in the last slide, Delaney Creek is just north of the property, right about here. Okay, now we have some pictures of the site. This is looking at the subject site from South 78th Street. This is looking east of South 78th Street to the subject site. This is looking west from South 78th Street to the subject site. And this is looking southeast from South 78th Street. The subject site is out of frame to the left. This is looking onto the parcel to the west of the subject site. The site is currently vacant, and the subject property is out of frame to the right. And this is looking from South 70th Street to a single-family use, which is west of the vacant land. Currently, the future land use of the site is residential 9. The residential 9 category allows for the consideration of 9 dwelling units per gross acre, or maximum floor area ratio of 0.50. All non-residential developments which exceed 0.35 FAR must be for office or residential support uses, not retail. This category allows for the consideration of residential, urban scale neighborhood commercial, office uses, multi-purpose projects, and mixed-use developments. Other future land use categories shown in this map include office commercials 20 and residential 20. The applicant is requesting to change the designations to office commercial 20, which allows for the consideration of up to 20 dwelling units per gross acre, or a maximum of 0.75 FAR. The OC20 future land use designation is intended to recognize existing commercial and office centers and provide for future development opportunities. Typical uses under this category include community commercial type uses, office uses, mixed use developments, and compatible residential uses. Next are the impacts. As far as existing conditions, currently under Res 9, the site can consider 75 dwelling units, or either 127,913 square feet, or 182,734 square feet of non-residential uses. Under the proposed future land use designation of OC20, the site could consider 167 dwelling units, or either 127,913 square feet of 274,101 square feet of non-residential uses. The proposed amendment will result in the increase of higher residential density and greater commercial intensity, including commercial intensive uses. This proposal has been reviewed by the commenting agencies, which you can find in your packets under the agency review section. Community and infrastructure planning have concerns with the proposed request, given past experiences with the community members, and that the site is identified in the Greater Palm River Community Plan as a community node. Next is the consistency review. The proposed request is consistent with the following objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan. According to Future Land Use Element Policy 1.4, compatibility does not mean the same as, rather refers to the sensitivity of development proposals and maintaining the character of existing development. The OC20 Future Land Use category is located to the south. An increase to OC20 on the subject site will be similar to the future land use categories along the south side of Causeway Boulevard. The proposed increase is consistent with Objective 7 and Policy 8.1 as they relate to the future land use map and range of allowable uses of each of the future land use categories. The proposal is also consistent with Objective 16 and its accompanying policies 16.2, 16.3, and 16.10, which require new development to be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. Goal 12 and Objective 12-1 of the community design component of the future land use element require new developments to recognize the existing community and be designed to relate and to be compatible with the predominant character of the surrounding area. The OC20 future land use category would be according with the surrounding neighborhood since there is already a mix of uses surrounding the subject site. Goal 5A of the Greater Palm River Community Plan seeks to promote and provide for opportunities for well-designed public uses, residential developments, business growth, and jobs. Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, policies, and of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And this concludes my presentation for HC CPA 2440.
Thank you. With the applicant.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Todd Pressman, 202nd Avenue South, North, number 451 in St. Petersburg. This is HCCPA 2440. Planning Commission staff has found it consistent. Planning Commission Board also found it consistent. We are in the Greater Palm River area, Clare Mell area. R9 seeking OC20 for 8.39 acres. It's a large site. surrounded by intensive uses, so industrial to the east, contractors, offices to the east, to the west is gas, across the street are all intensive uses, obviously at a very intensive intersection as well. And critically, there's a very thick buffer and creek that runs all the way north that provides good separation between any other uses to the north. As you can see, they're pretty vacant at the moment. This is the current site. Causeway is a main arterial, four-lane divided roadway, carries anywhere from 20,000 to 27,500 vehicles per day. It is part of the Hillsborough County Commissioners truck route path and is also a state principal arterial roadway. 78th, the other budding street, is an arterial roadway, carries about 16,000 vehicles per day. Planning Commission staff notes, as you've heard, the area is characterized by a mix of uses, particularly at the intersection. Light industrial uses are directly east, light commercial uses to the west and across Causeway. They find the proposed amendment consistent and compatible. This is abutting to the east. This is abutting to the northeast. This is across Causeway Boulevard on the south. This is future land use categories. You can see OC20 is across the street. That's the proposed category today. And R20 is located, which is an intensive category, located to the east. Zoning is reflective of the uses. Either CG, CI is the highest commercial intensive category, or CN surrounds the site. 30 persons were noticed for the future land use meeting, 24 for zoning, but a total of, with repeated noticing, a total of 148 notices were sent to the public. And this last slide, I won't read through it, but it provides a much higher requirement of buffering and screening for the use that's proposed. There's a zoning component, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Pressman.
Thank you.
No one has signed up for public comment, but is there anyone that would like to speak on this item?
Yeah, I'd like to speak.
Please approach the podium.
Was this another,
We need you in the microphone, please.
was this another residential proposal?
Please speak into the microphone. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay, was that another residential proposal? Oh, it wasn't? It was commercial? Well, I'm against the residential proposal. And what was the vote? All say yay?
Sir, can you state your name for the record?
Dennis Cheney.
On the mic.
Dennis Cheney.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Move for approval.
So we hold off on the vote until after we've heard the second portion. So we're going to hold off on the vote until we hear the companion rezoning. With that, I'd like to ask the clerk to swear in anyone who needs to speak on this item.
Please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Commissioners, Brian Grady, Hillsborough County Development Services. The concurrent item, agenda item B2, is rezoning standard 25-0175. This is a request to rezone the 8.25 acre parcel that's located on the northeast corner of 78th Street and Causeway Boulevard from commercial general to commercial intensive with restrictions. The restriction offered by the applicant is to limit the development under the CI zoning district to specific uses being outdoor storage of commercial trailer equipment, accessory minor motor vehicle repair, and a related small office. Based on the surrounding development pattern and contingent upon the approval of the Office Commercial 20 future land use designation requested as part of item B1. Staff did find this request compatible with the surrounding development pattern. The Planning Commission found it consistent, and the hearing officer recommended approval, and staff's available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant here?
202nd Avenue South, number 451, St. Petersburg. This is RZ Standard 25-0175. I'm going to do a bit of an abbreviated presentation for you because, as Mr. Grady has indicated, the DSD, Planning Commission, ZHM, and Transportation all support the request. Palm River Claremont area. This is CG seeking commercial intensive restricted for the 8.25 acres. We're restricting to outdoor storage of commercial vehicle trailer equipment, accessory minor motor repair or vehicle repair, and related office use. You've seen the roadway intensities. This is a trip reduction. I think it's very important to note. This is from your county staff report. It's a reduction of 12,610 average trips, 913 the AM peak, 773 in the PM peak. Mr. Grady has reviewed the zoning staff report. Again, I want to note to the north is an HOA buffer that's built into the land. You have O'Reilly Auto to the north, as indicated here, and the site indicated on the intersection. CN is abutting to the north with some restrictions for that use as well. Food product stores, specialty food stores, laundries. Planning Commission noted as consistent. You've heard their report. We did notice in the same regard for a total of, I believe I said it was 140 some odd total notices have been sent for all these different applications. So with that, we appreciate your attention. Happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any proponent testimony with that are parties of record? Any opponent testimony that's party of record? Planning Commission staff?
Alexis Myers, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located in the residential 9 future land use category. The proposed rezoning is running concurrently with HCCPA 2440, which proposes to amend the future land use designation to office commercial 20. It is in the urban service area within the limits of the Greater Palm River Community Plan. The proposed rezoning meets the intent of future land use element policy 1.4 on compatibility and objective 16 on neighborhood protection, as it would allow for a development pattern that is compatible and comparable with the surrounding development pattern along Causeway Boulevard. The existence of Delaney Creek along the northern the northern property boundary will also provide additional buffering for areas with the future land use designation of a Res 9 located on the north of the subject site. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the proposed restrictions by the Development Services Department.
Thank you. Zoning Hearing Master?
The zoning hearing master considered the applicant's request for rezoning to the commercial intensive restricted zoning district. The property is 8.25 acres in size, currently zoned commercial general and designated residential 9 by the comprehensive plan. The parcel is located within the urban service area and the Greater Palm River Community Plan. A comprehensive plan amendment is running concurrently with the rezoning application to change the future land use category to office commercial 20, OC 20. The applicants requested rezoning to the commercial intensive zoning district with restrictions will propose to limit the use of the property to the outdoor storage of commercial trailer equipment, accessory minor motor vehicle repair, and a related small office. The zoning hearing master found that the proposed restriction will limit the use of the property, thereby ensuring compatibility with the surrounding commercial and residential land uses. The zoning hearing master concluded that the proposed rezoning to commercial intensive restricted is consistent with the Land Development Code and the comprehensive plan and recommended approval.
Thank you. Commissioner Myers?
Move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Myers and a second by Commissioner Whistle. Please record your vote for CPA 2440.
Commissioner Hagan?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So I need a motion and a vote for approval of the rezone 25-0175.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner, Cohen, and a second by Commissioner Whistle for 25-175. Please record your vote. Okay, we're moving on to the transmittal
Commissioner
hearing.
Hagan?
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Okay, we're moving on to the transmittal hearing.
For items, for items C1 and C2, we have Miss Sophia Garantiva and also Melissa Zornita is here as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Commissioners. Melissa Zornita, Executive Director of the Planning Commission. I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction to the next 4 items because this is a bit of an unusual evening tonight that we have such large publicly initiated comprehensive plan amendments to expand the urban service area and change land use categories on such large geographic areas. So I wanted to provide some context to the decisions that you're making this evening. Just by way of some background, in November of 2023, the Board of County Commissioners asked us to identify whether or not the time was upon us to consider expanding the urban service area, and if so, where should we consider expanding? And then last March, in March of 2024, the Planning Commission provided a report to the Board of County Commissioners which identified 4 areas for potential expansion of the urban service area. And I just want to provide, since not all of you were on the board at that time, a little bit of a refresher of what was contained in that report. The latest population projections looking out to 2050 anticipate that by 2050 we will have another over 500,000 more people here in Hillsborough County and over 400,000 more jobs. And in the horizon of the comprehensive plan, which goes to 2045, that means our population will be over 1.9 million people. That's a lot more people to have to accommodate here in Hillsborough County and in the unincorporated area. When we look specifically at where that can go in terms of developable and redevelopable land, and specifically within the urban service area, and this data is from October of 2023, the acreage is limited. At that time, there was 32,661 acres remaining within the urban service area. And when you look at this map, you kind of have to squint to see where that acreage is. Most of it is very small parcels of land. Some of the larger parcels that stand out are parcels like the Energy Industrial Park that you've had quite a bit of discussion about, and whether or not it's even appropriate to have very limited amounts of residential development on that parcel. Some of the larger tracts of land have existing entitlements on them that are already contemplated in our projections or are in Plant City in the surrounding area. When we look at accommodating the future population, much of the population will start to go in the near term into the rural area. The comprehensive plan has a goal that 80% of growth will occur within the urban service area, which is on this map is the area that is within the dark blue boundary in the white. That's an important goal because that is what helps ensure that the county is efficiently providing services to the bulk of the population. It is what helps ensure that we maintain a rural area, which is an important choice that the residents of Hillsborough County have said. They said, we want to maintain having agriculture. We want to maintain having a rural residential choice of lifestyle. So we want to maintain that goal. But if we continue on the trajectory that we are right now, we will not meet that goal as soon as 2030 based on our population projections. So we started looking at the rural area and where would be appropriate to expand the urban service area. We looked at where there was vacant and developable land, where there were environmental lands, because that's very, we don't want to expand into areas where there are environmental assets. We looked at where there was acreage of land, where there were rural community plans and what those community plans said. where there were mining lands and what those considerations might be. And we identified 4 areas for consideration. And the first 2 that we identified as the first phase were the Wimauma and the Balm areas. And those were identified as first because of the unique land use categories that those areas have today in the comprehensive plan. They have the land use categories of residential plan 2 in the Balm area and Wimauma Village Residential 2 in the Wimauma area. Those land use categories have been in existence since the urban service area was established in the early 90s, and they have allowed for a 2-tiered development pattern. They allow for a rural development pattern of 1 unit per 5 acres, but they also, under certain conditions, allow for development at 2 units per acre if the developer brings water and sewer and other urban services. So because of that second tier of more suburban scale development, there are entitlements and developments within those areas that are not rural in nature, that have brought some level of infrastructure to the area, that have, so they make them good candidates for expanding the urban service area to first. The other 2 areas that are for consideration are the I-4 corridor and the Little Manatee South areas. Those, because they do not have those land use categories, will take additional study, and that is something that the Planning Commission staff has begun. But at this time, the Board of County Commissioners in March of last year was in support of these recommendations and asked us to move forward with the publicly initiated amendments to move forward with expanding the urban service area in the Wimauma and Balm areas. And that's what is before you tonight, along with the companion land use changes to amend most of those areas to residential 4. In addition, subsequent to that, we worked with county staff and sent a memo to the board that also talked about some of the other changes that would be needed to implement this. There are a lot of plans that will need to be brought into alignment with these changes. A lot of infrastructure plans, land development code pieces that are needed to implement moving these areas into the urban service area. And what we identified in that memo was that that would need to come next after these actions to move these into the urban service area, should you choose to adopt these amendments. These are just a few of those items, but once these areas are moved into the urban service area, then we can take all of those actions. And it's not just Hillsborough County actions, it would apply to other agencies like FDOT, Tampa Bay Water. Once they know that these areas are in the urban service area, they won't be considering them as rural anymore, and they will be planning for them differently. Since that time, as part of the planning for these amendments, we have done quite a bit of community engagement to inform the property owners about these changes. As I said at the beginning, this is unusual to do these types of large-scale publicly initiated plan amendments. So our team has been out in the community with a number of open houses, signage, individual notices to every property owner within these plan amendment boundaries. We had an online survey. We have a locator tool on our website so people can identify if their property is actually impacted or not. Most recently, at your suggestion, we worked with county communications on some FAQs. So we've tried a number of techniques to help inform people about these changes. With those remarks, I will now turn it over to Ms. Garantiva to walk you through the first 2 amendments that relate to the Wimauma area. Thank you.
Can we interact with Ms. Renita for just a moment before
I believe we can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. That was an excellent encapsulation. There were two things I wanted to just expand on, or ask you to expand on briefly. The first is, you made the comment about the other agencies needing this direction in order to be able to plan for the future. I know Commissioner Wustel and I sit on Tampa Bay Water, and in order for Tampa Bay Water to plan 10 and 15 and 20 years out for delivery of water, they have to know where the growth is going to be and what the density is going to be, even if it's way out into the future. Is that the case for everybody, so to speak? In other words, FDOT, the schools, Hillsborough County Fire Rescue, everybody's got to be able to look down this planning horizon. It's not just for transportation and infrastructure, it's for everything.
Yes, absolutely. And the comprehensive plan, that is the purpose of the comprehensive plan, is to be that guide and to look out 20 years. And the purpose of the future land use map is to be the visual representation of the plan and to show where the growth is anticipated to go.
And when it comes to paying for transportation mobility fees, that will happen, that will get assessed at the time that these properties are rezoned?
Yes, or well, at the time of their development.
At the time of their development. And just to remind everybody, in 2020, we increased mobility fees and we met an independently determined threshold of what was needed moving forward in terms of impact fees to pay mobility costs. And I just point that out because I know that for many years, those fees were not at 100% of what the mobility impacts were, but they are now. And they're not determined by us. They were determined independently so that this development, when it does occur, will have to pay its share to make the transportation network work for it, correct?
Yes, and I believe those are updated on a regular basis.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wustel?
That was going to be my last point, is that there's also a policy to make them always continue to be upgraded so that they don't fall behind again. He covered a lot of my points, but is this the first time, we talked about this earlier, but I believe it's confirmed now, this is truly the first time since the inception of this urban service area thought process that we've pre-planned in the future and expanded it like
yes.
this. And I think that's the most important thing, that anybody that has opposed us, all of the canned emails that we received, the people that are in support of it, sending us the screenshots that this was organized on Nextdoor, for everybody that participated in that this is a bull and a horn situation. We've been getting the horn in Hillsborough County for 2 decades because we have not done this. And this is our opportunity to take the bull by the horns and finally, for the first time since this has been put in place, begin planning for future growth. The growth is coming no matter what. And if you will all just entertain me on something, we all just went through Live Local. We have a special report at the end of every land use meeting now, because we're preempted from participating in Live Local and what anybody does on those properties. But this is a new bill that's coming, specifically, and it's moving quickly through the House and the Senate, so all signs are leading that it was pre-planned. This is specifically related to agricultural lands and practices, and I'm going to read some quick words here for you that are the green lines that are being approved. This is a bill to protect the property rights of agricultural landowners. Administrative approval. Administrative approval for development, regardless of the future land use map designation of the parcel or any conflicting comprehensive plan, goals, objectives, or policies, if the owner's request and densities intensifies of the use that are consistent. Those are the consistent movements of the state. It happened a couple of years ago. This is another new bill to also preempt local control over land use. This is the energy that they're going over their vision of how they see to protect agricultural lands in the state of Florida. So if you have an opportunity to be in control of the solution, which is what we're doing right now, this is a much better opportunity than being the recipient of the problem. And that's exactly why this board was very forward-thinking, in my opinion, last year on, for the first time, driving the growth to where we believe it should be, instead of it being hot-spotted out into these areas and it being much more untenable. This is a good policy and mindset to be forward-thinking. We did a good thing last year. It was a bipartisan vote. This is for you to be in control of the solution. So I will digress. Thank you.
Commissioner Myers, you recognize?
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to say, as a former county employee before I became a commissioner, I joined the county in 1988. In 1988, we were talking about expanding the urban service area. In 1988, today, we're in 2025. It's about to happen. And we all need to get on board to make sure it happens, because as we mentioned, we cannot stop growth, okay? But we can plan for everything that comes around the growth, for schools, you know, all of that, homes. And so I'll wait for the rest of the information to be presented. Thank you. And also, Melissa, excellent overview to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. Sophia Garantiva with Planning Commission staff, presenting on both the text and map amendments that are associated with the Waimama area urban service area expansion. So I will begin with HC CPA 2444. This is a publicly initiated text amendment proposing an expansion of the urban service area by approximately 4,212 acres. This acreage is exclusive of any privately initiated amendments. All right, this aerial shows the expansion area generally associated with HC CPA 2444, shaded in red. The red dashed line shows the proposed urban service area boundary. The following departments and agencies provided comments on the amendment: Conservation and Environmental Land Management, and Environmental Protection Commission, Hillsborough County School District regarding current and future capacity, Affordable Housing Department, Transportation Planning Organization, which also provided a regional modeling analysis as part of their comments, and public utilities, including water resources, as well as community and infrastructure planning, fire rescue, agribusiness, and development services. No objections were received. And before providing the consistency review finding, we wanted to note that the proposed urban service area expansion was initiated while the unincorporated Hillsborough County updated its future land use section. So as of December 2024, a new future land use is effective, and it was determined that the newly adopted future land use section be used in the review of these amendments. As such, the proposed amendment is inconsistent with the following objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan, specifically future land use 1.1.9, which outlines the criteria for expansion of the urban service area boundary, as well as future land use objective 6.2 that require new or redevelopment not adversely impact environmentally sensitive areas and other significant natural systems, and 6.3, which encourages clustering of development to protect existing natural resources. As such, the Planning Commission recommends that the proposed text amendment, HCCPA 2444, be found inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Additionally, the Planning Commission approved to send letters to the Board of County Commissioners requesting the area subject to the amendment be examined using the policies for an urban expansion area to address the need for more information regarding infrastructure and other issues. Additionally, the BOCC, also a letter was sent for the BOCC to consider reevaluation of the land development code requirements that limit the subdivision of land within the urban service area on well and septic tanks. So I will now move on to the companion map amendment, HC CPA 2445 for Waimama Village Residential 2. Again, this is a publicly initiated map amendment accompanying the text amendment to expand the urban service area boundary and consists of approximately 5,661 acres. The area would be going from Waimama Village Residential 2 to Residential 4, Residential 1, and Natural Preservation. These amendments are generally located in southeast Hillsborough County, south of County Road 672, east of US Highway 301, north of Hillsborough County, the Hillsborough County boundary line, and west of County Road 39. The lands are located in the rural area and are in the Waimama Community Plan as well as the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. This aerial shows the general area. Again, you could see the proposed expansion area outlined in the red dashed line. The lands part of HCCPA 2445 are shown in blue shading and have a WVR2 future land use. A black dotted line shows the land part of this amendment. The areas that are not shaded are part of the privately initiated amendments or part of the areas associated with the RP2 expansion. And again, the following map shows the adopted future land use in the area. Again, WVR2 is shown in blue. And this map shows the proposed future land uses of Res 4, Res 1, and natural preservation. The majority, approximately 4,212 acres, is proposed Res 4. Approximately 1,447 acres are proposed natural preservation. And these areas are ELAP-owned lands, are also owned by the county. And 1 acre is proposed residential 1 to accommodate a parcel with a single-family home that is surrounded by these ELAP lands. The natural preservation and residential 1 will remain outside the proposed urban service area boundary. Also, this map shows in black hatching the privately initiated amendments, and these areas are not included in the applications. Again, if approved, the proposed amendments would increase the residential density potential. The proposed amendments would also reduce overall non-residential development potential, but remove restrictions on the location of non-residential uses specific to WVR2. A more detailed impact breakdown is available in the staff report. And these are just some photos of the areas associated with the plan amendment. This shows County Roads 579 and Saffold Road. This is the southernmost point of the proposed USA expansion. This is Westlake Drive, just north of Bishop Road, looking into the USA. Residential 6 is to the left, and residential 4 is to the right. And this is a photo of the TICO utility, the TICO easement and utility. The TICO utility easement and the solar farm. The solar farm is proposed residential 4, and parts of the TICO easement are going to be residential 4 or proposed residential 4. And in part natural preservation. Excuse me 1 second. All right, the same departments and agencies reviewed and commented on the proposed map amendment as the text and had similar comments except for the Transportation Planning Organization. Comments were provided. The comments provided were exclusive of the text amendment modeling analysis. Again, no objections were received. Also, again, just wanted to note that the newly adopted future land use section was used in review of this amendment. And as such, the proposed amendment is inconsistent with the following objectives of and policies of the comprehensive plan, specifically future land use policies for the intended uses in the rural area, policy regarding compatibility and location of land uses in future land use goal 6, which aims to seek a balance between the preservation of natural systems and the built environment. Again, as such, the Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment HCCPA 2445 be found inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. This concludes my presentation on these 2 items, and staff is available for any questions, and I believe there is also staff available online to answer questions.
Thank you very much. So this is a public hearing. We'll move on to the first speaker in person, Mr. Ted Canty, followed by Mary Minier virtually.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ted Canty. I live in Waimama, and I'm a member of the Waimama Community Plan Advisory Council, also known as CPAC, an all-volunteer organization. Our organization would like to partner with the Planning Commission, if at all possible, to help provide community input into the planning of the Waimama Urban Service Area Extension. The Waimama CPAC meets with and represents the Waimama community. Our intentions are not to stop new development, but instead to ensure the Waimama community is not negatively impacted by the new development. We are requesting a comprehensive infrastructure study be conducted prior to approving CPA 2444, CPA 2445, and also the BOM CPA 2446 and 47, since Waimama and BOM share similar concerns. We're also asking that the WVR2 community benefits convey to Waimama Residential 4. The Waimama CPAC testified in front of the Hillsborough County Planning Commission on February 25th. The Planning Commission found that all 4 comprehensive plan amendments were inconsistent with 4 out of 7 county policies related to infrastructure and voted 5-2 against approval. The Planning Commission voted 5-2 to also provide the BOCC with a letter recommending a study of the urban service area infrastructure and environmental impact prior to approving development of these 4 applications. The CPAC is asking that you request a full infrastructure study concentrating on flooding, stormwater damage, impact of roads, impact on schools, and impact on safety, which includes fire, police, and EMT response. The Planning Commission voted 6-1 to send to the BOC a letter to review impact fees in order to determine if the current fees are enough to meet the actual infrastructure costs. The Waimama CPAC wishes to thank Commissioner Wastel for making a proposal to keep the impact fees local to approved development applications. We would like to see the BOCC to vote on approving this proposal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mary Minier virtually, and followed by Shannon Dominic, also virtual.
Hi, my name is Mary Minier, and I live at 3131 Marine Grass Drive in Waimama, and I'm also a volunteer at the WCPAC. One thing that hasn't come up in all of these pause plan commission meetings is the actual cost of living in Hillsborough County. As a resident of Berry Bay, a 3-year-old development south on 301, I have firsthand knowledge of the building that's going on and the now vacant new homes. The builders build a home and sell the home, thus making their quotas. Now comes the reality for many of the new homeowners. For whatever reason, many were not given an accurate amount of property taxes they'll have to pay. The first partial year is just the land and the CDD. The full year now includes the home and any exemptions, and what they are seeing is a 100% or more increase in the property portion of their tax bill. This could be anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 per year increase. As a result, they're trying to sell, rent, or move, leaving their new home vacant. Some have tried to find second jobs, while others are spreading the increase over 18 months. None of that is a permanent solution to the fact that they now can't afford the home they had always dreamed of. In my immediate neighborhood, of the 154 homes, there are about 10% that were previously sold and now are vacant for sale or rent. If current trends continue, we will be a new home desert, and those that are staying will not see any marked increase in the value of their home because of the excess quantity. Additionally, I would like to invite you to drive through South Hillsborough County at rush hour and see what we are currently dealing with every day: the narrow streets, traffic congestion, and daily accidents. It's not how many miles to your destination, it's how long it will take. In closing, I have tried to let the citizens of our area know what's going on and when the meetings are. Without exception, especially from the longtime citizens, their answer is, Why bother? They are only having these meetings because the law says they have to, and the outcomes have already been decided. I think it's time to show these people they are wrong and vote no for further expansion, or at least have a pause. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Shannon Dominic, virtually, followed by Noel LaCour, also virtual.
Hello, my name is Shannon Dominic, and I am a resident of Berry Bay in Waimama, located off of Route 301, just south of Route 674, at the very end of Hillsborough County. I am asking for a pause in the housing development so there can be an updated study of the floodplain as well, infrastructure, school needs, police and fire protection. I'd also like to add that Route 301 South and Route 674 East are only 2 lanes, and Route 674 East is a designated evacuation route. In the event of an immediate evacuation, with only 2 lanes and adding all this additional traffic, it will be impossible for residents to evacuate. I can attest that the traffic on any day of the week is compiled of accidents, gridlock, as cars already have no way to get through. In your comments about the studies of the people moving to Hillsborough County and to Florida, I would like to add that according to Redfin, as of today, there are 442 homes for sale in Waimama alone, and this doesn't include the surrounding areas, nor does it include private owner listings, apartments, or homes for rent. The market is already saturated, and just a few miles south of us on Route 301, there are mass subdivisions being built, compiling of apartments, homes, and townhomes, etc. Not to mention all of the other subdivisions in Waimama currently under construction, and that will just increase the amount of unsold homes. I work in human resources, and I can attest that many companies are requiring employees to return to the office versus remote work. So this is already slowing down the amount of people moving to Florida, and this is only going to increase as we go forward. These new homes are going to sit vacant, or they're going to foreclose, which affects all of our property values. Also, the possibility of an increased crime with the houses sitting vacant, and squatters. And I'd also like to add that we already were under water restrictions in Hillsborough County because of all of these homes. I urge you to take a pause for building at this time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Noel LaCour, followed by Bear McCullough.
Hello, my name is Noelle LaCour. I'm just here to say that expanding the urban service area is not the solution. The county can't handle the infrastructure inside the urban service area now. How are you going to handle it, an expansion? This is urban sprawl. Back in 2020, the county had a future land use market study completed by WLT for the WRV and RP2 areas. The market study findings confirmed that planning approvals had exceeded demonstrated market demands for this part of the county. Since that study was completed, the county has approved thousands of more homes in this area via rezoning, and home sales have slowed down in this area. Homes are sitting on the market much longer, and the prices are dropping. The market study also shows services compared to the taxes generated for residential development resulted in a deficient, while every other use generates surpluses. Our county is never going to catch up on infrastructure capital improvements as well as the maintenance and repair. They'll keep digging a deeper hole. I see in the backup docs for tonight that the county actually expects to make a net revenue of $6 million per year if these CPAs are approved tonight. Honestly, I don't believe that's true, but if it is, $6 million a year is not going to make much of a dent. Our county is 35 years behind in transportation. Almost all of our roads are substandard and many are dangerous. How many miles of road can you get paid for $6 million? Not many, a couple if you're lucky. The county is still 10 plus years behind in sidewalk repairs. Over 20 fire stations are still needed right now, with the biggest need being in South and East Hillsborough County. Wait times continue to grow. The sheriff's office is so inundated with calls for service that some residents are refused service. South and East Hillsborough County are no longer designated a water use caution area by Southwest Florida Water Management District, but that is likely to change once the thousands of already approved homes are built. Y'all can't keep covering natural aquifer recharge stations with rooftops and asphalt and expect everything to be okay. Water pressure is still low, and the new pipelines are not going to help us because they are going to be servicing all the new developments that y'all have already approved on Waimama. I also want to note that us taxpayers paid for those pipelines, not the developers of the developments that have already been approved that water will actually service. Some of those developers didn't even pay their water or wastewater impact fees for those developments in Waimama. Many schools in South and East Hillsborough County are still at capacity. The school district reported that they still need to build a dozen schools at Hillsborough County in the next 15 years. We can take off to the two new ones that are on Westlake. But what can you get for $6 million? Sumter High School cost $70 million. Flooding near developments has been an ongoing issue for the last few years, not just with last hurricane season, most likely due to the fact that a large amount of the new developments are required to be constructed above the base flood elevation by at least 1 foot or to be dry flood proof to minimize flood damage, which sounds like a good idea, but it's causing issues for some residents.
Thank you for your comments. We're moving on to Mr. Bear McCullough, also virtually. We'll move on to the next speaker, Madison Aston Salter. Are you online, Madison Aston Salter?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Madison Ashton Salter. I'd like to start by thanking you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm a fourth-generation resident of Hillsborough County, and my family has been farming and growing strawberries across the county for 100 years. We own multiple parcels of land, and I wanted to speak to you in regards to the benefits of the expansion in the urban surface area. This area has always been planned to be the urban expansion area. The area already has water and sewer infrastructure in place. Being included in the urban service area allows the county to plan and invest in capital improvements like roadways. It helps prevent inefficient land use, and ultimately, choosing not to go forward with the expansion of the urban surface area is a decision to not plan for the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Melanie Isaacson, virtual. Melanie Isaacson.
This is Melanie. Thank you. I live in Valencia del Sol, and I am representing the Waimama CPAC group. A number of us have already spoken. And what I would like to talk about or mention as far as putting in more comprehensive infrastructure and doing more study, and this would be for the CPA 2445 and the BALM 2446 and 47, as well as the Waimama 2444. What I'm seeing as far as living in this area for the last couple of years is that the roads have not kept up with the amount of traffic we already have on it. So I would like to have more in-depth information and study as far as when the roads come into play, when will they be built? I know that there was a comment as far as the development is happening. That's not good enough, because already the roads are not sufficient to handle all the traffic in my neighborhood. And I live off of 301 and 19, and the number of traffic accidents on that intersection is incredible, considering it is a intersection that has lights. And there's a number of accidents that happen there, and I am totally amazed about that. We also need to be concerned about the flooding and stormwater. That becomes an issue when land is developed and it is paved over, so the water has no place truly to run. It can run into a stream, it can run into a lake, but at a certain point the water could go high enough that it will flood backwards into the homes or towards the homes. So that needs to be looked at as far as the new FEMA maps for environmental concerns. And then the schools, obviously that's a big concern with all the schools and the number of children that will be moving into the area. And again, it's a matter of, we could be a good neighborhood, but we have to make sure that we are on top of it before we go down the path and find out that it's not what people want. I know others have commented about the difficulty in selling. we too have difficulty in this community with selling some of the properties because it is a little bit, it was overbuilt at the point in time, and with the market the way it is today, it is turned into a very, very slow market for the resale of homes in this community. And I think that needs to be considered, and maybe when we're looking at the development, it is looked at as something much further down the road than what I'm hearing you folks say. I'm not disagreeing that needs to be done. It needs to be done. But I guess I'm advocating for considering other alternatives, which would be getting the roads in place or getting them better prepared, getting all the intersections put together, making sure that we're not in a floodplain or creating a floodplain, and that we have adequate schools and protections for our communities. And that is
Thank you for your
all
comments,
I have
ma'am.
to say, and I thank you for the time that.
Thank you for your
Thank
comments. Is Mr. McCullough on the line? That will close our public
Madam Chair,
hearing.
Mr. McCullough did not sign in, but he may be there in person.
I don't see. So we'll move on to commissioner discussion. You agree? Do they have to be signed up? No. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Members of the commission, my name is Augie Grace. I live at 15821 Cobble Mill Drive in Waimama. I'm also a member of the Community Plan Advisory Council. And I am requesting that the Board of County Commissioners table these amendments, and that we ask that you include these in your study that you are doing, that the Planning Commission is doing for Little Manatee and the I-4 corridor. We already know about what occurred in the last 6 months, the 4 privately initiated comprehensive permits, and the number of new homes that are being built in Waimama. Now the Planning Commission is now proposing expanding the urban service area. The Waimama CPAC has been asking this commission to pause further construction. We had a petition that we presented with 1,800 residents that had signed, and we've been advocating for a comprehensive infrastructure study to include flood, stormwater management, traffic mitigation, and public safety. So I was thrilled when the Planning Commission voted that these proposals were inconsistent with the goals and objectives of the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. I was even more thrilled when the Planning Commission discussed with the staff the use of the request for proposal of the urban service area as a responsible way to proceed with further development. I think the study of the I-4 corridor and the Little Manatee study is exactly what we have been asking for. So I would suggest that a similar study be conducted in Waimama and Baum. All of our concerns would be addressed in these studies, and these studies are going to include community engagement. We understand that the urban service area must be expanded for the county to reach its goals. We want it to be done in a thoughtful manner, which includes the participation of those who currently reside in Waimama. Some states say that a moratorium does not solve the problems. We view this study differently because of the comprehensive planning and the involvement of the community would be achieved during this pause. We believe the pause will be beneficial for the county, for the state, and for the community. Therefore, I request that the CPA amendments be tabled and that the Planning Commission be directed to issue an urban service area expansion study for Waimama and Baum. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on the matter?
Good evening. My name is Reed Fishbach, 917 South Parsons Avenue, Brandon, Florida. Mr. McCullough is on his way here, by the way. I'm here in support of the urban service area expansion. I live in East Hillsborough County, and I work with a lot of the rural landowners in East Hillsborough County. You know, it's been over 30 years that this area has been considered an area to potentially expand, but yet we've had this RP2 and WVR2 land uses, which kind of been like these red-headed stepchilds for a long time. caught in complicated policies and endless debate, this proposal is the best path forward. These areas are the most suitable for development. They have well-drained soils. They have water and sewer infrastructure in many places already in place, and there's already significant conservation areas protected. In the past, I worked with the school board. They actually wanted to go into this area, but decided not to because it wasn't in the urban service area. And, it's very difficult for them to find sites that were in the urban service area. We were right on the edge, but said, no, we can't go there. So this process does allow you to plan for many years out, allows you to make the capital improvements and investments we all know where they're going to go, whether it's the county or the community. So I appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Zelvis Applin, and I'm a pastor in Waimama at South Hills Church, and I'm also a resident in the Balm Waimama area. It's an honor to be here to speak on behalf of the community that I love, live in, and work in. Let me begin by saying that I am not anti-development. It's an exciting opportunity to bring much-needed attention and services to the South Shore community. My comments today are not to argue about whether or not we should develop, but it's about where, when, and how. When we think about our area, I take a look at the schools, and we met with Hillsborough County Public School Systems, and we took a look at all the schools that service our residents. And currently, as it stands, we have a total of 6,636 students that are enrolled in elementary and our middle schools, and the proposed high school will have about 3,000 students. So that totals to 6,636 students. The future elementary school that they will possibly build right next to the high school will bring an additional 1,000 students into the area, which will bring us up to a total of 7,636 new students, just as is, without any additional expansion of the urban area. The problem that this brings to us is kind of threefold here. Number one, the current population in Waimama is 13,000. Current population in Balm is 5,362. If we added what they had put on their amendment plans that they presented to the Planning Commission, that would be 10,876 housing units proposed as an increase. And if you do the national average of about 2.54 people per household, we're looking at 27,625 people in that little region. When we look at the transportation needs that would be out there in terms of how many new vehicles would be in the area, you multiply that times 2, and you're looking at 21,752 new vehicles on our roads without any infrastructure being addressed out there. You're talking about a nightmare. When we look at the infrastructure issues that we have, there are 3 main points. You have Balm Road and Balm Boyette, which I'm glad y'all put the new light out there. That is such a game changer, and we're very grateful for that. But you also have the Balm Road and Balm Riverview exchange there, and that's like playing chicken when you pull out in that area. I mean, people blow past the stop sign, and they almost kill you coming around the curve. I'm also concerned about SR 674 and Westlake Drive. There currently is not a traffic signal, and I do not know of any plans to put one there. And that is a death trap because the kids will be crossing that 2-lane road to get to the school because of the distance in which they will not do busing there. So
Thank you for your comments, Pastor. I appreciate it. Mr. McCullough?
Good evening. I'm going to pull my notes up real quick. My name's Bear McCullough. I've lived in Balm for 44 years, which is probably more than most of the folks that you're going to talk to or you have heard from over the past X amount of months or weeks that have been trying to give you direction on what they think or see or feel about the urban expansion. We've been down this road with RP2, and it's a lot of the same points tonight that we dealt with during that, and I just want to bring up a few things, a few talking points. This area that is in question has always been planned and intended to be included in that urban service area expansion. Choosing not to follow through with that seems to me like a waste of time and money that we've put in this for however long in the past that we've been tasking folks to work on this particular project. This area already has water and sewer infrastructure. Being included in the urban service area allows for the county to plan and invest in capital improvements like roadways, which we desperately need. This also would attract investors. It attracts businesses, and it helps agriculture. And people look at you crazy when you say it helps agriculture. I'm going to explain to you why it helps agriculture. So some of you know me and some of you don't, but I'm a third-generation cattle rancher, and that's where our place is at. The way we function is we borrow money yearly to be able to keep the operation going. And the way we are allowed to borrow that money is on the values of our lands. With this expansion, obviously, the property values would go up. When I look at that, I think that allows me to grow more crops, grow more cattle, and expand my operation by doing land improvements that I desperately need, because I'll be able to afford to borrow more money for this project. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. McCullough. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Commissioners, Jake Kramer, Stearns Weaver Miller. Mr. McCullough took most of the wind out of my sails, so I'm not going to try to repeat what he had to say, that this does actually support agriculture, and I can tell you that as a former board member of Hillsborough County Farm Bureau, this is good for agriculture. What I can also tell you is that years ago I researched the history of all of this, and actually the county wanted this land to be 4 units per acre way back in the 80s, but that was back when the state controlled growth management, and the state said no. And the county pushed back, and the state said, eventually this can become part of the urban service area. So this has really been the plan since at least 1989. And the time is here, as you've heard from the Planning Commission, because the growth is here. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, sir.
Good evening. I'm Bill Short. I'm president of Red Elk Land Company. And what that means is we're land brokers. We work with a number of landowners throughout the state, Hillsborough County, a lot of them farmers. I grew up farming. A lot of farmers in the path, and I can't speak for all of them, but I can only share my own meandering experience. A lot of them don't want to give up farming. They would prefer to farm. What this does, it allows them to continue to farm. Many farmers will take the land, pay off some debt, put kids through college, perhaps better the next generation, but with a majority of it, it's very often for them to go buy another agricultural tract and to continue farming and to continue their capacity. My clients consist of landowners, farmers, and just generally hardworking folks. Not only am I a land broker, but what I find myself in a position as their advocate, someone that's willing to speak up, stick their neck out on the line, and say a few words on their behalf. I can't beat what some of these other gentlemen have already said, Commissioner Wolstall, Mr. Fishbach, Mr. McCullough, and Mr. Kramer. They pretty much nailed it. But I thought I would just take a moment and to voice my support and to let you know that without this, we'd be squandering, as a community, squandering a heck of an opportunity. and I hope that you guys approve it. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, Cammie Corbett with the law firm of Hill, Ward, and Henderson. I want to thank all of you for the leadership you've shown on this issue for all the period of time that Melissa talked about. Most of the commissions, I told you before, I've been here since 2007. This issue has come up time and time again, and this is the first board that didn't hide behind a study, or appears to act not hiding behind a study and not hiding behind a moratorium without fixing any problems, without directing county staff to make the necessary studies to make the improvements. And I really do want to thank you for that. And just a little bit of context on the Planning Commission hearing. We had an unusual set of circumstances there. We had a brand new planning commissioner who suggested we use Portland's urban service boundary as a model for her urban development. And we had a couple of countywide commissioners who were not there at the meeting. And because it was on an off night, the gentleman that you heard from speaking on agriculture's behalf had people speaking for them about denying this or finding it inconsistent was protecting agriculture. And I think they just got it wrong. They're well-meaning people, they're volunteers, but it was just a kind of a bad mix of discussion that evening. And I think if they were to have the full perspective, they would probably find differently, but we'll never know. This is really your decision, this is your plan, and we would respectfully request that you move forward with it.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Jacob Gorman. I actually signed up for the later one, but it sounds like everybody's comments is just doing now, so I just jump in. I guess I just wanted to show up and be a face. I've been hearing this play out for the 10 years since I bought my property in the Balm area when I moved here from Alabama in 2015. A few folks from Balm, like to show up and continually kind of speak out against any development in the area. So just wanted to show that there are some folks, I guess there's some others as well, that aren't necessarily opposed to this and would support the urban service area expansion. In particular, I did want to speak directly to the Planning Commission's finding of inconsistency. I think I would reflect the previous speaker. My first position out of grad school a long, long time ago was in state government, so I greatly appreciate the public service that folks do. But I do feel like, at least my expectation for the amount of preparation for that meeting maybe was a little low. I think some of the details might have gotten missed. I felt like some of the points made there maybe reflected a lack of engagement relative to what I've seen from this board, as well as some of the folks that have been speaking previously. In particular, I think there was quite a bit of confusion about septic conversions. There was some comments about where we need density, or excuse me, where we're going to develop, there should be more density. And I mean, I think the reality is in the RP2 space, a lot of the land that's going to be developed is going to be developed. It's already going in now at 2 per acre. And we have this infrastructure in place. We should use it. We should, it's paid for. Let's make, the most use of it possible. I think the urban service area expansion will help do that. I would also reflect a lot of the previous agriculture concerns. I mean, I've been a cattle rancher my entire life. I was born on a dairy farm and got into beef cattle shortly thereafter. And just want to reflect all of those comments as well. Also, just like relatively speaking, I pay like $5,500 a year in property taxes for a home. I have, no water, no sewage. I don't get internet. That's on me, and I know it's not a public service, but maybe shame on me. I just assumed I was 2 miles from a Starbucks and a Publix that I would have internet in a county like this when I came down, but apparently not. So I think, somebody at the Planning Commission meeting a month ago said, we chose this, we don't want that. I think, yeah, folks that move there, there's reasons and there's positives, but that doesn't mean we don't want basic infrastructure facilities, and I think this would allow a lot of that. And I appreciate Commissioner Cohen's comments in multiple meetings previous to this around, needing to plan ahead and this providing the avenue to have the infrastructure and stuff come. In China, they'll build a giant city with roads and nobody's there, and then they tell everybody to come there. We can't do that.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Thank you.
Could you restate your name for the record?
Jacob Gorman.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on C1 or C2? Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public comment. Commissioner Whistle, you're recognized.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for all of the speakers. And I heard a couple of times about approving no more development. We are not approving anything tonight. We're simply submitting transmittal to the state for agencies' comments. And two, this is not approving any development. This is simply designating a planning area. We're not approving any development tonight. So I wanted to clear that up for anybody that might have been confused about what we're doing. First, I'm never going to vote. I'm going to vote against a farmer. I've said it multiple times in the past for so many reasons, what they provide for the community. In that same study that was mentioned earlier from WTL, it highlights how significant of an impact all of the different categories of farmers that we have in the county, all the way down to, I think, goat farmers, it turns out, of only like 6 figures, and then, of course, strawberries being upwards of 9 figures of revenue just for Hillsborough County. And that's what we're doing today, is trying to protect that and protect them in this community. Anything we do in regards to planning out in that area, Melissa Zornita, the director of the Planning Commission, has been really good about coordinating. We have an actual agricultural economic development council. Of course, you'd be surprised that they have to be in the agricultural industry and a farmer, and they support all of these initiatives. So next, I would like to identify, I've said it many times in the past, that as we introduce these new expansion areas for the first time, which I think a lot is that this being brand new, I have a lot of respect for the Planning Commission, specifically for the person that led the charge in getting the no votes. I did reach out to him and have some clarity that he said multiple times after I went and watched the actual meeting. It was brought up to me about the Portland, Oregon comment. You can imagine me, the first thing I did is go double check if we appointed that person, because I was going to draft a letter for the next board meeting to remove them. We did not. They actually were in full support of the areas that the Planning Commission identified. They were in full support of that, and that was said multiple times, and I don't want their words to be changed just by off of one slide that says that they found it inconsistent. This was a brand new initiative, and we gave very vague and light direction in everyone's defense. I think that we should have been, it was really me and Commissioner Owen at the time, we maybe should have added more detail of what our expectations were. And now that I've really reflected on it, I don't think that we were clear enough in what those expectations should have been on, as we look into this, what we expect from each of the departments. So I'm going to make one quick motion, which is a pretty simple one, is that the Planning Commission felt like they were not provided adequate enough resources from staff to make an informed decision. The way that it's structured, we would have to delay votes and extend meetings out until June needlessly for them to do that. So I have confirmed with Ms. Zornita and Adam Gormley that I can simply make a motion, Madam Vice Chair, to request that staff present to the Planning Commission and all departments and agency comments that were requested, to provide them with an adequate enough resources to perhaps draft an additional letter with those resources that they desired prior to or at the same time that we received the state's agency comments. It's very basic.
I'll second that.
Is there any other discussion on that one? No? Do you want to repeat the motion, or?
Do you guys
for the vote.
Do you guys need me to repeat it? You got it.
You got it.
Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Call for the vote.
Go ahead and record your vote. Thank you. I tried to write it.
Commissioner Hagan?
Yes.
I'm sorry? Commissioner Hagan?
Yeah. Yeah.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, thank you. And just a few more points, Madam Vice Chair. I have said that many times in the past that I believe that since we are, for the first time in its history, planning for the expansion of the urban service area, that we are introducing new transportation burdens on that area, and that I believe that all future mobility transportation fees that are generated from those expanded areas should be dedicated to improving the transportation in and immediately surrounding those areas. So I have proposed a new policy text amendment, which for informational purposes, it is a text amendment now. So even though what we're doing tonight only requires 4 votes, this would require 5 votes to successfully amend the text. This text, I'm going to read the whole thing for.
It will require 4 votes or to transmit tonight. Ultimately, take 5 votes to adopt. Yes.
To adopt. Okay, so this only takes 4 votes.
Yes.
4 votes. Okay. This is a new policy, and all this is doing is going to designate that we spend the transportation and mobility fees generated from any development that may or may not occur. The economy might crash, let me be clear, and then nothing gets developed in here in the next 20 years. We don't know what's going to happen on this land. That it must be spent within or within a quarter mile of this designated area. That's to allow for unforeseen intersections that might be impacted from any development that may or may not occur. It might be an Amazon warehouse for all that we know in 15 years. But, so I will motion to amend the text for a new policy 1.1.8 in order to address the need for transportation improvements necessitated by development in the expanded urban service area. Mobility fee funds collected in the urban service area expansion pursuant to HC CPA 24-44 shall be expended in the geographical area included in HC CPA 24-44. And the mobility fees collected in the urban service area expansion pursuant to HC CPA 24-46 shall be expended in the geographical area included in HC CPA 24-46. However, such mobility fee funds can be used on transportation improvements within a quarter mile of each of these areas that will mitigate impacts of development within such areas, in accordance with the Hillsborough County Mobility Fee Program Ordinance. That is my motion. And all of you got it except for the vice chair because I ran out of paper.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
You want to go first?
Yes,
go ahead.
thank you. I appreciate you bringing this up, but could we have a little bit more time? We're just receiving this tonight. Can we discuss and vote on this at our next land use meeting, at least to be briefed on this, to have some say-so? You know, I just don't want to vote tonight just receiving it. I mean, I received 2 items tonight, but can we take it and have a be briefed by staff, and then vote at the next land use meeting on this? Would this uphold anything that we're doing tonight? Staff? County attorneys? Somebody answer.
Yes, ma'am. If it's the board's desire to be briefed on this, I am familiar with this motion language. We can certainly brief the board members on it. If the board's not inclined to adopt this evening, it could be language added at the adoption stage for the amendment, and staff will make ourselves available at the board's desire.
Then I'll make a substitute motion that we discuss this be briefed on this as the board and adopt at the next, can we do it at the land use meeting? Or at the adoption, whatever come first?
Yes, it would need to be at one of the public hearings noticed for
Okay,
this.
the public hearing. Okay, thank you.
I'm going to speak to the substitute. Well, I'm going to wait and see if it gets a second.
I'll second it.
Then, so this should go now so that the state agency can review it in their comments and see the suggestions when they're analyzing and seeing that we are taking our best foot forward on how we're going to plan for the expanded area. And then if it's really not desired at the adoption hearing, it can just simply be removed at that point.
So procedurally, we have a motion and a second for an amendment. Substitute.
So
I'm sorry.
So we're saying to let it go now as a part of this?
I think.
I hear from you.
I think, thank you. I think what Commissioner Wastel is saying is right now, all we would do is transmit for comments. So it will give us the time to have that briefing prior to when we'd have to vote on it for final adoption. And so if we don't want to do it, we could vote it down when the time comes.
Okay.
So knowing that, I'll withdraw the second and that'll kill it. Let me ask, I just like to ask one question. And Mr. Gormley, maybe this is for you, or Joanna, maybe for you. I'm not sure which. Let's say that for some reason down the road, this becomes impractical at a certain, in a certain district. Would the board have an ability by either by a vote or a supermajority vote to override it or not? Would it be set in stone?
So the motion, Commissioner, would be, it would be direction in the comprehensive plan that to change that would take another text amendment to the comprehensive plan, but that would always be within the board's purview to make such a change to the plan text.
So if there were something that came up, it could be remedied in that way?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Thank you.
Commissioner Bowles.
Thank you. As far as the document that you're referring to that I provided to all of you and well to the clerk as well, that is more expansive. So it's really looking at changing the mobility fee ordinance and providing some direction to staff how we can craft that, not just for the Waimama Balm area or the mobility district 5, but kind of all the mobility districts, because we know that growth's not just going to stick there, it's going to stick everywhere, or it's going to grow out everywhere. But to kind of keep that same process that Commissioner Wistel is referring to, and if we're pulling fees in that area and the development's going on in that area, they should stay in that area. And, you know, we shouldn't be sending it across county, which doesn't happen now. But even District 5 is huge. It's huge. It's, 100,000 acres. So to take where some of these residents here are living and rightfully concerned about the traffic, we all are in there, but to keep those in those areas where we can really do some good and keep those in the areas that are directly being impacted. So I do plan maybe as well at that same one, it would not be a text transmittal, but maybe a local ordinance that we would be able to change. Would that be more along the lines of what I'm looking to do with the mobility fees on our level, the level I'm providing?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir. The proposal that you brought would be direction to look at making those designations within the mobility fee ordinance, which would be done at a future time after appropriate study.
But it's similar but separate than this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just so y'all know, it's similar but separate. This is specific to that particular area as it's related to the two CPA amendments. Mine is more broad, thinking of the entire county, kind of looking on a global scale. So those will come out, and that will obviously be written in a particular fashion with the help of staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Myers?
Have our, be briefed on this, a workshop or whatever, to discuss all this that you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm just getting spooled up. I've only been here 3.5 months. I'm trying.
You're doing good.
Did you have further comments, Commissioner Myers? Commissioner Cameron Spada?
Yes, the commissioners here tonight have already made so many excellent points in favor of this, and I don't want to reiterate all that, but Also, since our last meeting, I've really heard from our local farmers, and they really are so important. You know, what they do is just vital for not only for our community, but for our nation. And as we've already heard here tonight, and I've heard from farmers, what a benefit this would be to them. And we really want to support our farmers and ranchers. And also, the previous meeting that we had, I know we had many speakers come out, and what I've also discovered that they really did not live inside of the proposed boundary. And so that's very important that we know that, you know, the local people, we want to hear from them, but they really did not live inside the proposed boundary. So I'm really want to support this because it really is very important for our community and farmers, ranchers, and as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Myers.
Okay, this is my last time speaking, second time. Okay, I appreciate everyone that shared comments, but I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead and approve.
We have a current motion and a second on the floor.
We do?
Yes.
Oh, from Commissioner Wilson. Oh.
Yes. Are there any other comments on the current motion? Please record your votes.
Commissioner Hagan?
Yeah.
Motion carried 7-0.
Commissioner Myers? Oh, you're.
Making a motion to approve CPA transmittal.
Second.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Bowles and a second by Commissioner Wustel to approve for transmittal HCCPA 2444. Please record your vote.
Commissioner Hagan?
Yeah.
Motion carried 7-0.
Next up is C2, the HCCPA 2445.
Motion approved.
Second.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Bowles and a second by Commissioner Myers for a transmittal of HCCPA 2445. Please record your vote.
Commissioner Hagan?
Yeah.
Motion carried 7-0.
Next item, please.
Thank you. Our next two items will also be presented by Ms. Sophia Garantiva. Thank you.
Good evening again, Commissioners. Sophia Garantiva, Planning Commission staff. Here presenting the text and map amendments associated with the board-directed expansion of the Balm Riverview area. Again, starting with the text amendment, HCCPA 2446. Again, this is a publicly initiated text amendment proposing an expansion of the urban service area by approximately 8,041 acres. This acreage, again, is exclusive of any privately initiated amendments. This aerial shows the expansion area generally associated with HCCPA 2446, shaded in red. The red dashed line shows the proposed boundary. Again, the same departments and agencies as the previous amendments reviewed and provided comments, including Conservation and Environmental Land Management, the Environmental Protection Commission, Hillsborough County District and School District, and Affordable Housing Department, Transportation Planning Organization, again, which provided a regional modeling analysis as part of their comments, public utilities, including water resources, as well as community infrastructure planning, fire rescue, agribusiness, and development services. And no objections were received. Again, like the previous Waimama amendments, this amendment was reviewed using the newly adopted future land use section. The proposed amendment was found inconsistent with the following objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan, specifically future land use policy 1.1.9, which outlines the criteria for expansion of the urban service area boundary, future land use objective 3.1 for the intended uses in the rural area, and future land use goal 6, which aims to seek a balance between the preservation of natural systems and the built environment. And as such, the Planning Commission recommends that the proposed text amendment HCCPA 2446 be found inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Additionally, the Planning Commission approved to send letters to the BOCC requesting the area subject to these amendments be examined using the policies for an urban expansion area to address the need for more information regarding infrastructure and other issues. Also, another letter to the BOCC to consider reevaluation of the land development code requirements that limit the subdivision of land within the urban service area on well and septic tanks. I will continue on to the companion map amendment, HC CPA 2447. Again, this is a publicly initiated map amendment accompanying the text amendment to expand the urban service area boundary and consists of approximately 10,151 acres. The area would be going from residential plan 2, RP2, and agricultural rural 1 to 5, AR 1 to 5, to various future land uses, including residential 4, residential 2, AR 1 to 5, public, quasi-public, and natural preservation. This amendment, again, is generally located in southeast Hillsborough County, east of US Highway 301, west of County Road 39, south of Lithia Pinecrest, and north of State Road 674. It lies in the rural area and within the Balm and Riverview community plans, as well as the South Shore Area Wide Systems Plan. Lands part of HCCPA 2447 are generally shown in the yellow shading on the map and have mostly RP2 and RP2 future land use with a small portion of AR 1 to 5. The black dotted line shows the area part of the amendment. Areas not shaded are, again, either part of privately initiated amendments or part of the areas associated with the WVR2 expansion. About 100 acres of AR 1 to 5 is included in the request, as this acreage accounts for parcels that have been that have a split land use between RP2 and AR 1 to 5. The following map shows the adopted future land use in the area. Again, RP2 is shown in light yellow. AR 1 to 5 is shown in light green. This map shows the proposed future land uses of residential 4, residential 2, AR 1 to 5, public, quasi-public, and natural preservation. Much of the land, approximately 7,656 acres, is proposed Res 4. 130 acres are proposed Res 2, and this area is located north near Lithia Pinecrest and is proposed to be Res 2 to reflect the surrounding lower density development pattern. Approximately 383 acres are to AR 1 to 5 to accommodate parcels with the split future land uses. These lands are owned by South Florida Water Management District, South Florida Water Management District, and Planning Commission staff coordinated with them on the appropriate designation. Approximately 1,848 acres are proposed natural preservation, which are county-owned lands, again in the ELAP program, and lands that are part of Little Manatee River State Park. Approximately 13 acres are proposed public, quasi-public to accommodate the proposed one water facility in South County. And the AR 1 to 5 natural preservation and public, quasi-public lands are proposed to stay outside of the urban service area boundary. Again, this also shows the black hatching that shows the privately initiated amendments. These lands are not included in these applications. Again, if approved, the proposed amendment would increase the residential density potential, would also reduce overall non-residential development potential, but allow more flexibility in the location of allowed commercial uses, including removing the RP2 community commercial use limitation. A more detailed impact breakdown is available in the agenda packets. And these are just some photos of the areas associated with the plan amendment. This is County Road 672 east of Balm Riverview Road, which is proposed residential 4. This is Balm Road looking north, proposed residential 4 on both sides. And on the right-hand side is one of the privately initiated amendments. Balm Boyette Road looking north towards Hawkstone. Again, residential 4 is proposed on both sides. Thompson Road looking north. This is the area that is being proposed as residential 2 on both sides. Again, the same departments and agencies are reviewed and commented on the proposed, the proposed text amendment, commented on the proposed map amendment and had similar comments except for the TPO comments. The modeling analysis was inclusive of just the text amendment, and no objections were received. Again, just noting that a newly adopted future land use section was used to review the amendment. And this amendment was found inconsistent with the following objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan, specifically future land use policies for the intended uses in the rural area, policies regarding compatibility and location of land uses. Also, the future land use goal 6, again, which aims to seek a balance between the preservation of natural systems and the built environment. As such, Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment, HC CPA 2446, be found inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. This concludes my presentation, and staff is available here in person and online for any questions.
Thank you. We're going to move to the public hearing, and the first speaker is Jaco Gorman, followed by Noel LaCour virtually. Thank you. Moving on to Noel LaCour virtually.
Sure. Yes. So this is urban sprawl. The county is so far behind with the infrastructure inside the urban sprawl. How can you guys expand it? You're just making the hole deeper. And these impact fees, though, that is a great idea to have them spent within a quarter mile. That should have happened a long time ago instead of having it within districts. But can we also get that for us out here? Because I live in Ruskin, and we have development still going on here, and those impact fees aren't being used here. So can we get that as well? Also, it's really kind of sad that one of you wants to say that you only care to hear from people who live within the proposed boundary expansion. You do realize that Berry Base Farms abuts it. If it's not abutting it, it's super close. You should check out that map. And you guys also should realize that we don't need to live inside that proposed boundary expansion to be impacted. We are all impacted because those people have to go to, in order to get to 75 or 75 or 41 or 301, they have to go through where we already are and already are having horrible amounts of traffic and no infrastructure. You guys are just digging a deeper hole. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Bear McCullough, followed by Mitzi Newsom, both in person. Excuse me, ma'am. Go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you for giving us a chance to voice our opinions. I'm Mitzi Newsom. I live with my husband at 2206 Hinton Ranch Road, which is part of that very north part, little part up there. So we own lots 6 and 7 in the small rural subdivision that is included in the above-mentioned HCCPA 2446 and 2447 along Thompson Road and north of Fishhawk, the northernmost part of the amendment. We are a subdivision of mostly small family farms with horses, cows, poultry, goats, and gardens. We bought our property in 1997 and have enjoyed the rural atmosphere and would love to preserve that. It is a dead-end road and not a large parcel, and we would respectfully ask that you would please consider removing this area from the proposed amendments. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. McCullough?
I'll just remind you of what I said earlier. I don't have anything more to add to that. I think everybody understood where I was at before. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Madison Aston Salter, virtual, followed by Melanie Isaacson, also virtual.
Madam Chair, they are both not on the call.
I didn't hear what they said. No. Okay, we'll move on to Melanie Isaacson, virtual.
Melanie has left the call.
Okay. Would anyone else like to speak? You're speaking on items C3 and C4 combined.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Shane Morris. My father, Greg, is here with me.
I'm here to speak on behalf of a piece of land that was just mentioned by my parents' neighbor, Diane, a moment ago. It's the piece of land that raised me. I love it dearly, and it abuts conservation ELAP land on the Alafaya River. It's part of this kind of beautiful wildlife corridor and the rural area that adjoins it. I want you to think about the map here, because I think adding this piece of land to the overall expansion proposal is a big mistake. If you zoom out on the satellite map and look at Hillsborough County, you'll see that everything within the proposed or within the current boundaries is essentially sprawl. There is no green space, there is no conservation, there is no rural land except for ribbons of green river land. That's all that we're doing. So the conservation, the idea that conservation is a part of this, is a meaningful aspect of the plan, it doesn't make sense when you actually look at what's being conserved. Everyone here in this room who's driven around Florida on a regular basis in the urban counties knows what's happening. The urban sprawl is expanding, it's unchecked, and it's destroying the rural lands. We've heard people today talk about the idea that that this is good for farmers, good for agriculture. I understand it's good for selling land. It's good for making a profit in the end. But if you look at the boundaries, look at the satellite map, within the existing boundaries, what happens ultimately? This is a plan to expand development. I don't want to see that happen to the land that raised me, the land that I love, the land that my parents love, and is part of what it means to have a little bit of rural Hillsborough County left. That's what we love about this place, and it's what I was taught to love about Florida, that there's a place where there are open fields, where there are horses, where there are trees, where there are cattle, where there can still be agriculture within a reasonable distance of an urban center like this. We all know what's going to happen. The ultimate end of this is the expansion of urban sprawl, the eating up of green spaces, and the turning of Hillsborough County into a giant square of housing and warehouses and pavement. I don't want to see that happen. I think Hillsborough is beautiful, and it's worth preserving some of this variety that we have in the county. And if nothing else, I hope that the commission would consider taking this little square at the very top of 47, it's the last one of the map amendment, off of the plan, because the people who live here, who I've known my whole life, who I care deeply about, they want to preserve their lifestyle, and they think their land should stay the way it is. And I know exactly what's going to happen. These signs that showed up the other day, or recently, they were a nightmare come true for so many of us. And we've been waiting for this moment for a long time, and we dreaded it. Please reconsider.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Moore. Next speaker, please.
Cami Corbett with Hill, Ward, and Henderson. I just wanted to speak to the proposal to address the impact fees being spent within the expansion area. I encourage you to explore that. I do support that concept. I think it is a good idea. It's a tool. When they made the mobility fee districts, they made them so big, and it sort of limits our ability when we come in for a specific development to say, here's the improvement that's going to be in your area. So I do encourage you to continue to support that and refine the language as necessary if you have concerns. I just want to speak to the fact that the two lights that the pastor referred to, the one in Baum, that was put up by a developer as the result of development. Westlake Drive traffic light is going to be installed through a public-private partnership. So this is what expanding this playing area does, opens up more opportunities to get more infrastructure into these areas. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Thank you again for the opportunity to represent our area, Zelva Saplin. And again, your job is very hard. When we think about 1.9 million people by 2050, that's a lot of people in Hillsborough County. And where do you put these people? And how do you house them? Where do you provide services for them? And that's a very difficult job that I don't get paid enough to do. And I'm glad that you guys are sitting in the seat that you sit in, because you are making these decisions that don't just affect today. We're talking about generations to come, long after our lives are concluded and we're in the ground or in an urn somewhere. These decisions that you make today will impact generations. And the question that I have before you guys is, what kind of Hillsborough County will we have for the future generations? I'm talking 1 to 3 generations away What kind of impact will we have for them and leave for them? On the Planning Commission, they talked about affordability, housing affordability. And they said part of this density that we could bring in an urban service area will address the rising housing costs. Well, let me just remind you, in my area where we live, if you rent a studio apartment, it is $1,600 a month. If you are a 3 to 4 bedroom apartment in our area, we're talking about over $4,000 a month in Waimama and Baum. To me, that is a travesty, but it is what it is. When we look at the housing, if you look at the new communities that are being developed, the average starting price of a home, a single family home, is $350,000. And I have seen some communities be at $400,000 up to $500,000 plus for housing in Baum and Waimama. I want to ask you, is that sustainable for residents that live out there? And then we talk about the property taxes that are going up. We are making it unsustainable for people who own homes out there to be able to stay in the area because the rising cost of housing and insurance, as we've seen insurance company flee our state. So there's a lot of things that are going on that we're not talking about here tonight that are also part of this equation. Again, I welcome development. I welcome people into our area. I want to see the services come out, but I would like a strategic, comprehensive approach to make sure that we address some of the key issues that affect us out there and will affect our future residents. And then I do concur with my friend who said that the people who own lands that are the farmers and the ranchers and stuff like that, God bless them, but a lot of them are selling their land and they are moving out of the area, and there's no more agricultural that will be left if we continue in that trend. So again, I do want to see development, but in a comprehensive, strategic way that benefits not only the landowners and the land sellers, but also the residents. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Would anyone else like to speak on this?
Yes. Yes, hello. My name is Gregory Morris. I live at 2225 Hinton Ranch Road. I certainly agree with the people that are concerned about infrastructure and services and providing, access, roadways, things like that. I drive 12 miles to work every day. It takes me an hour to do that. So, but I also recognize that you guys have a tough job. You have to plan for future growth. You have to plan for affordable housing, as the pastor was talking about. Wouldn't want that job. But the property that I live on and my neighbors that have spoken already is a kind of a unique area. It's in the upper right-hand corner of that map that was shown earlier, the northeast corner. It's a small section around 100 acres. Out of over 10,000 acres. What's unique about that property is not just my own personal enjoyment of that property, the peacefulness, but it's along the Alphi corridor, which has been wisely set aside by this board, maybe previous members, to preserve that natural setting, to allow water flow, watershed, to allow animals to live there, wildlife, as we encroach upon their environment. So our property acts as a buffer. We have a farm. We have animals, cows, chickens, ducks. We have it all. So we have a legitimate farm there. And so I guess what I'm asking is that little area, that small little section, I'm asking that it somehow has been caught up in a larger net of over 10,000 acres. This is a small parcel. It's unique. It's peaceful. And we can continue to work as a buffer against encroachment from residential neighborhoods or even commercial by preserving or removing that land from your consideration for rezoning. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Sir, may I ask you a question, sir? Yes. Where did you say this land is located?
It's, I wish I could show you the map that.
What's some cross streets?
This would be wonderful.
It's in Lithia.
All right. How do we point to this? In this, yes, right there. That little tiny
okay. That's
sliver.
what I thought y'all were.
Yes, sir. We're located several miles, many miles from the larger, the Waimama bomb area, and somehow we've gotten caught up in this net. I think we're, you know,
Dolphin in a tuna net.
I think we're collateral damage is what I'm thinking here, so.
Okay, well, thank you. I just wanted to, that's what I thought the area you all were referring
Yes,
to.
sir.
I just wanted to be
No,
clear
thanks
on
for
that.
asking, appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next speaker.
Thank you. Jake Kramer again at Stearns Weaver. Just two quick points. First, I forgot when I was up here earlier to thank the Planning Commission staff. I think they've done a great job. I think the reason you don't have a room full of people is because they did probably the best job that I've seen with one of these comp plan amendments. They had dozens of workshops, and they really got out the word to people to help them understand this is about planning. This is about planning for the future. This is not about what's going to happen tomorrow. The second thought I just wanted to put out there is you know, sites like what we just heard about, these conservation sites. It sounds like a great site that ELAP may want to talk to these folks, right? That increasing the development rights is really what you all are doing, is you're restoring what a previous board stole from all of these folks. I hate to be blunt, but I have to. A previous board stole property rights from everyone who's in the RP2 land use category. And that's why there's still a lawsuit out there waiting on, hopefully, this to get approved so that they can be given their rights back. That's as clear as I can be about it. And including these folks with these conservation lands. And I really think ELAP maybe should be talking to them, because it sounds like a great site for that program. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on item C3 or C4? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment. Commissioner Whistle?
Okay. I want to talk about this little notch out. It is all by itself up there. I got a voicemail from them earlier today. I'm assuming it was the neighbor of the first lady that spoke. It was only included because it was part of RP2. I have reservations about removing it right now, because all we're doing is sending it to public comment. I also want to make sure that the speakers understand this is simply us moving a planning over that little notch to re-entitle the property. We're not approving any construction. Do you guys, that's all we're doing tonight. So, I mean, no one can force you to sell your land. Well, the property appraiser, if you didn't pay your taxes, because death and taxes. But so I just wanted to make sure that's all that this is. What I would like, though, is an opportunity, and I will extend it to you all in that 100 acres or so. I mean, maybe they want to remove it tonight. My colleagues are waiting here to say. I would suggest that you let it go to the state's agencies, and then we can lop it off after we've had more of conversation. That would be my recommendation. I'm getting a lot of head nods, but you are in a bubble up there. So if it is only because they were in RP2.
Yeah, if I might.
Sure, yes.
That's exactly it. When we were here last March, the board's direction was to bring all of the RP2 that was outside the urban service area into the urban service area. This got caught up in the net because it was uniquely RP2 and outside the urban service area, but the only spot that is in this area north of the Fishhawk area. What I would suggest is that we work between this transmittal hearing and the adoption hearing with the landowners on what would be the appropriate land use category for it, because I don't think that land should remain RP2. That land use category would not really fit because it limits them to either 1 unit per 5 acres, which some of the properties in that area might not quite fit that, or this development where they have to be 160 acres to get any additional development rights. So would like to work with them on what is the right land use category. I absolutely understand they might not like to be within the urban service area, but we could come back to the board with what is the best solution for them at the adoption hearing. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay. Yeah,
And we could get all their names and numbers tonight and have a meeting with them.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm happy to hear from all of you. And also that little snippet of the state law that's quickly moving through, I left out earlier, I wanted to point out, completely preempts any of us from getting involved in whatever that law allows them to do, just like Live Oak Local. So I wanted to highlight that for all of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowles.
Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Renita, can you come back up? Do you mind? No, you stay up there. Thank you so much. So I want to definitely echo, and I'm glad that we could work that out. That does seem one of those, old school tuna got caught, dolphin got caught up in a tuna net. But I wanted to kind of highlight the point. I don't want to belabor this. We don't need to be here till 10 o'clock tonight. But I think because this is so important, and kind of get it again on the record that this is kind of, if you wanted to bake a cake, right, you got to have a recipe. This is part of the recipe to getting this to that point to where we got to find those items to put in there, because you pull one out, which kind of goes to concurrencies in a way, right? So we have these things where if we don't have certain things in line, water, capacity for water pressure, water treatment, all these different things that go in a school board, if those aren't in play, we can still do this, but that it's us getting to that point. And I believe this was probably all brought up in your public, your public meetings and all that to some degree, wasn't it? I mean, so you're kind of telling there's these impediments that are there. This is just saying that at some point in the future, we're going to do that. And it's no different than kind of like I raised some objections at the workshop the other day about how the Planning Commission looks at total square area of land versus actual buildable area. There was two things on there that you can't put 1,000 homes on that. You could probably put 400 if that, So, but when people see it, you have to put it in a certain way, But I just think that when we're raising all these issues, that we got to look at what's the future is going to be, and it's not what's happening today. It's happening what could happen in the future, and even to the point, the residents brought up here about that little snippet in what Commissioner Whistle's saying. They don't have to build there. Right. However, if they don't want it to be that way, and again, it's such an outlier, maybe we change it and do that, but we're doing it for a specific purpose, and the other part of this is for a specific purpose as well.
Yeah, this is the first step in a very long process. This outlines that this area would be in the urban service area, and it would be eligible for consideration for up to 4 units per acre. Okay. That does not mean that tomorrow it will be 4 units per acre. There's a lot of steps between today and something becoming 4 units per acre. They would have to go through a rezoning. They would have to go through many steps of a development approval, including ensuring that there is adequate water and sewer, school capacity, adequate and safe access, a number of things. And a lot of the area, if you look at the map that's on the screen, is developed with existing development. There's subdivisions like Triple Creek or Tropical Acres that are existing there. Those aren't going to go away immediately. It may be decades before something changes in those parts of the community. So this is, and just like within the existing urban service area, it has taken decades for certain areas to redevelop, like the areas that we saw in Palm River earlier tonight, where they're now talking about changing an area to 16 units per acre. That's been that way for decades. It takes a long time for these plans to come to fruition, and this is just the first step in that process.
And without this step, we really can't move forward.
Right. So none of that can start happening until we do this.
First step.
Yes.
To growth.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Sure thing.
Commissioner Cohen, you recognize.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, I think the approach that's being taken here with this I'm going to call it the panhandle at the top of the map is a very, very good one. What I would say to the neighbors that came out tonight is this is a real opportunity, because if you do make the decision that you want it removed when we come back for the adoption hearing, I think Ms. Zornita's point that it would then require another land use category, that's a real opportunity to think about where you want this thing to land. Because once it does, that's what it's going to be. So I think it's really important that take that time and engage and really figure out what's best. And it may be, you may decide that you actually want, I could see where you would decide that you wanted it in the urban service area, but if you don't, at least you'll know what you're choosing to ask us for moving forward. It's important. I mean, because it's gonna have to be designated as something.
Commissioner Whistle?
Thank you. Very brief. Of all the requests of all of this wants for a study, there's nothing for them to study yet. That's why we can't do it until this is done. I had not got to say that yet, but that's the cart before the horse. And for all that we know, we expand the urban service area and we direct the Planning Commission to study residential 4, and then they come in and say, well, we don't want to do that. We want a commercial district here with a bunch of restaurants, and it's entirely different impacts. And those are just the realities, that you don't have the crystal ball to perform some study of the future. You can't predict what the market is going to bring based off of what development occurs and they decide would be supported by the local economy. So there's no real way to study it other than saying, hey, you have to have a proper amount of drainage through this area for rainwater excavation, whatever it might be. So I just wanted to make that final point. We're not ignoring the study request. It just simply can't be done before we identify the area that we're looking to grow into.
Before I look for a motion, I would like to take this opportunity to thank staff for all your hard work. I know for someone like me, the last 6 or 8 months getting up to speed on this, you have answered my endless questions to make me very comfortable in the vote I'll cast tonight. I appreciate you all.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Myers and a second by Commissioner Whistle for the transmittal of HCCPA 2446. Please record your vote.
Commissioner Hagan?
Yeah.
Motion carried 7-0.
Do we have a motion for HCCPA
Move for
24?
approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Myers for the transmittal of HCCPA 2447, seconded by Commissioner Whistle. Please record your vote.
Commissioner Hagan?
Yeah.
Motion carried 7-0.
Before we wrap up today, I'll need a motion for the approval of the amendments that occurred today.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Myers and a second by Commissioner Whistle. Please record your vote.
Commissioner Hagan?
Yeah.
Motion carried 7-0.
With that, we are adjourned. Yay!